Okay, hello and welcome back to Land Rover Toolbox videos. Right, glow plug removal, we've got a 1/4 inch T-bar and an extension. Basically, the glow plugs should just wind out because they're not in very tight. The reason they get stuck, and it's not apparent on this, but on the tips they get very heavily carboned, or they can do, which will stop it from winding out. Now I pull this one out, it's got oil on it, won't worry about that, and it's not heavily carboned up. But if they are, best thing to do is to start winding them off and then wind them on, wind them off to break the carbon off the tips so you can then wind it out the cylinder head. Personally, I haven't had any problems, and touch wood, I won't have any problems removing glow plugs, but if it strips the thread, all is not lost because the thread can be repaired. Easy once you have air and paraffin, is just clean out any crap that happens to be in the glow plug holes. Generally with your cylinder head you're going to have carbon deposits in the right places. Steam cleaning is one way of removing much of the carbon. As you can see here, this has been steam cleaned and you can see the inlet is very clean, whereas the exhaust still needs a bit of attention. Before we go ahead and measure the cylinder head for warpage, we've got to really check the condition of the face. Now this part here, this is solidification. The aluminium's been eroded away and we're looking for any anomalies like cracks or melting. Right, so this one here I told you about is it's been blowing through the center here. Now this would be a cause of concern. In the workshop here I actually have 3 cylinder heads and we're going to check 2 of them. One of them has already been pressure checked. Okay, so back to our original cylinder head. Instead of using water with wet and dry, this is P400, I'm actually using paraffin out of the wash tank and a flat block of wood. What you basically need is a sanding block, and this is to make sure that you get the a flat sand, as it were. Okay, so it's basically removing the rest of the gasket and any other rubbish without damaging any of the metal. The last thing you want on the cylinder head face is scratches and gouges that will impede the performance of the head gasket. Right, so I've got the second cylinder head here. This is the one with the valves in and it's been blowing through the center. I'll show you how quickly it is to actually remove the carbon. Again, just some wash tank paraffin and a nice layer of that. If you're just changing the gasket, for instance, then it doesn't matter about removing the valves unless you want to decoke it. But in this case, we're just doing this as a demo because this head actually has a problem. It doesn't take too long to remove the carbon off the face of the cylinder head, and you can see here it's taken less than 2 minutes completely, and we're looking for a surface something like this that we can check our measurements with. Okay, looking at the PDF, I've typed in cylinder head warpage, and maximum warpage allowed on a cylinder head is 0.08 of a millimeter, which is fairly generous. The workshop manual will also show you where to measure the warpage, as you can see here on this page. You'll need to take the measurement in 3 different places, and you'll need a straight edge that will actually reach right the way across, diagonally across the cylinder head face, like so. This one is an engineering set square. Okay, so what I'm doing here is measuring with a feeler gauge, which is 0.08 of a millimeter, to see if there are any gaps between the straight edge and the face of the cylinder head, like so. Now you can see here this is actually okay. There are no gaps whatsoever. So you can see the diagonals that I've done, and then directly straight across the face, like so. No gaps whatsoever. So it's looking good. The face of the cylinder head is not warped. And where it was blowing before, I'll just show you it's also straight. Okay, so it was a gasket failure on that one. Okay, so the cylinder head with the carbon build-up between 2 and 3 cylinders, we'll put the diagonal measurement first with our straight edge, and you can see straight away that the feeler gauge has gone underneath the straight edge. Okay, so the cylinder head is actually warped. Now this is a failed cylinder head and there's nothing you can do about it other than chuck the cylinder head away. Right, so one option is for second-hand heads to be bought and pressure tested. Now this is our 3rd head that we know is in good condition. Right, so checking the face a little bit more, we see we have some erosion here, and this has gone quite deep. This could be welded back in and then machined down, however, it adds to the expense of the cylinder head overhaul. The other thing to look for is cracks. Now, if you look, well, not too carefully, you can see there are actually cracks forming between the valves. Especially when it comes from the exhaust valve across between the two valves, and you have to check this very carefully. You can see the crack very clearly here. This is a failed cylinder head. It's not economical to repair it. Cracking also appears where you can't see it, and the only way to really check it is to have your cylinder head pressure checked by an engineer. This cylinder head has passed a pressure check. I would say that old aluminium is going to fail at some point, and we have, out of 3 cylinder heads, we only have one good one, which is this one in the center. This one is not okay. It's got solidification on it, and you see these areas here, and it's also cracked between the valves, which is basically only fit for the skip.